Hey, Corey, don't forget, if potato can become vodka, you can become a homeowner. So welcome everybody to This Week in Real Estate. My name is Jason Schultz. I'm joined by Corey Otto here tonight.
Hi.
We do this every Sunday night, 6:37, depends upon how many listing appointments Corey had today or showing, so it's all good. Tonight, we're going to talk about vacation homes, multi-unit properties, investment properties. There's a lot of different things. I think, Corey, you and I both know that really a lot of wealth that people have in the United States is from real estate, and it is from multi-families or multi-units. I want to talk about tonight as a lender that if somebody's going to buy a duplex as a primary, they only need 3.5% down. I think that's with FHA. I think that's something that people don't realize. I think you assume, Corey, that when you're going to do a multi-unit or you're going to do that, it's going to be 20-25% down. And
right.
I say all the time, I have radio commercials that say, and newspaper ads that you do not need 20% down to buy a house. So when you kind of came up with this thought process tonight of like talking about vacation homes and multi-units, duplexes, investment properties, the last couple of weeks, what we did seller do's and don'ts, buyers do's and don'ts. What was kind of pushing you and motivating you tonight to have this be our topic?
Yeah, I think what started it when I was brainstorming this week, I just happened to see a bunch of new, I cover 5 counties, and I saw a bunch of new multi-units, duplexes. And today, one of the showings I had today was for a property over in Baraboo by Devil's Lake. And, it was a VRBO, and it's making $70,000 a year. The buyer that I took and showed it to, they want to use it as a vacation home, but let the VRBO part of it basically offset it. So they'd have essentially, his mindset was, I just need to, break even with the VRBO rentals. And essentially we have a free vacation home to use anytime we want when it's not being rented out. So I really just think there's real opportunity. I've had some rentals in the past. I've done some flips before. And I think rental income, residual income is great. I think with, first-time home buyers right now, if you're looking to get into a duplex and you want to own or occupy half of it, get it for 3.5% down, have your renter pay half of your mortgage or more, build some equity. And then when you're ready to move out of it and move into something bigger, rent both sides out, have some income, and have money saved up for your next purchase. So I think there's real opportunity. I
do too. But I think a lot of things that scares people away is that down payment. Because typically, if you came to me and you need a vacation home, I'm going to need 10 or 15% down. If you're coming to me with legit like investment property, 15 to 20% down, you get your better interest rates at 25% down. A couple years ago during COVID, the Fed actually put extra basis points, Corey, on second homes. Because at the time there wasn't enough homes for the primary buyers. I think they saw it as a money grab, and that no matter what lender you use, you just pay a little bit higher interest rate with the second property or an investment home. But that the scenario that you laid out is I'm just going to use this property and I'm going to vacation in it when I can. And when I'm not, I'm going to VRBO it. And I think a lot of people like, hey, this is a house I'm going to retire in, Corey, or this, but if I can get it paid off, in 10 or 15 years, by VRBO on it, it's great. And when I travel, Corey, I always use an Airbnb or a VRBO instead of a hotel. It's cheaper, and it's only one time I've been disappointed by the pictures, and that was at a place in Louisville, Kentucky. It was in a part of town that they're trying to revive a little bit. Okay. And I'm not saying it was dangerous, but I don't think I ever want to stay there again, if you know what I mean. So
right. Cool.
So types of income properties, Corey. I think of vacation homes. So for us in Wisconsin, we think Florida, right, for a vacation home. But people like in Chicago, the bigger cities, they think of Wisconsin as a vacation home, right? I typically you need to be about 90 miles away to legitly call something a vacation home or a second home for us to classify it for that 10 or 15% down based upon it's always going to be conventional financing with these with second homes, except for the duplex scenario that we talked about for a primary residence. Or I've had times where it's closer than 90 miles, but it's truly like a resort type property. It's on a nice lake, it's on a river, and we can actually truly prove that, hey, this is a vacation home. I'm going to use this on the weekend, stuff like that. Other traditional financing, Corey, up to 4 units. And I think if anybody can get into a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and live in one of the units, that's where you can use FHA and if that house for 3.5% down payment, Corey, and if that house or that complex has rental income or rental history, we can sometimes use up to 75% of that for qualifying purposes. So incoming rent, again, I say all the time, quit paying rent, quit paying somebody else's mortgage, make your own. And that's the idea of it. Because some people are always going to need to rent, Corey. There's just situations that people are always going to need to rent. And not everybody can be a homeowner, unfortunately.
Right.
What other, investment properties? People just truly buying houses to rent out. I mean, there are a lot of people that do that. They're buying 5, 6, 7, 8 homes and creating quite the portfolio of rental properties. So it's a nice thing to do out there. So those are your basic types of income properties. Financing options, like I talked about, Corey, the one I love to talk about the most, Corey, is duplexes. If you're going to, or a triplex or a fourplex, if you're going to be, it's going to be your primary, you're going to live in one of the units. You can put 3.5% down, Corey, and that is such an advantage for somebody like that out of the gate. Have you done many of those in the past?
I haven't done tons. I've done a couple of owner occupied duplexes. I've certainly done a lot of, where I've helped investors doing some flips or investors buying, a piece of property to rent out. But I would like to see more people doing these owner occupied 1 to 4 units. Again, we keep saying duplex, but FHA, Jason, correct? You can do 1 to 4 units.
Yeah, up to 4 units. Yes, sir.
Yep. So technically, you could buy a 4-unit rental, live in one of the units, rent out the other 3 units, and only put 3.5% down.
Yep. Yeah. Well said.
That's great.
Well said on that. And then your traditional financing is going to be conventional on this. There's hard money lenders out there. I feel like you see more creative financing, Corey, like maybe outside of my world when it comes to these multi-units and these vacation homes and stuff like that. Sometimes you might be able to find something really, really expensive to do some seller financing, different things like that. Land contract type stuff, big parcels of land. Things like that. I talked to a buyer this weekend from Illinois, and they want to move up into that Baraboo Sauk area, and they were looking for, she was specific about, hey, I want land and ATV trails and water, and I'm willing to spend up to $250. So there's a lot of different options out there for that. So Corey, what are some advantages of owner occupied multi-units? Like, I know we touched on it already, but can you kind of rehash that? Let somebody else pay your mortgage, basically?
Right. So, 2 things is happening. We'll have a scenario here at the end that Jason and I can go through, that we're going to go through and specifically show a duplex, show what the payments are going to be, show what the rents are going to be. But in general, you could, buy a duplex, live in one side, rent out the other side, and have that person help with half of your mortgage or more in some cases. And then you're also building equity. So then it could be a scenario where, you live in it for 2 years, you move out, you buy something different, you rent both sides. The value of the property is going to go up. You could potentially sell that property and then cash out. And because you've lived in it for at least 2 years as your primary residence, you're not going to pay property gains tax on it. Everything you make is going to be profit. So I just really think there's huge upside to, buyer. I'm sorry. No, I'm losing a blank. What do we keep calling it? Owner occupied. I don't know why I had too many terms going in my head. I really think there's a huge upside to owner occupied. And then again, if you want to move out of it, keep it. You're going to be then having your mortgage covered by the 2 renters in the scenario we keep talking about, plus some cash flow each month.
Yeah.
I think it's great opportunities right now.
Some of the tax benefits are depreciation and some write-offs as well. And, if you're thinking about doing this, I really would advise you to sit down with a good accountant that knows what they're doing, that deals with stuff like this, because nobody wants a surprise. That's not fun, Corey.
Yeah. Just an example of, some write-off scenario. And again, we're not tax professionals here, and anytime that I'm dealing with an investor, and I'm going to make sure that they're having a tax person that's going to help understand this. But essentially, if you put because you are going to pay income tax on that tax that you're collecting from your renter, that if you do some big improvement to the property, like put on a brand new roof,
Yep.
that you're going to be able to use that as a tax write-off to help with not paying taxes on the income that you're bringing in from your renter. So there's really good tax advantages to renting and
Well said.
good tax.
Considering locations, I guess basically, are you looking for a vacation home? Are you looking for your future place to retire? Are you just looking for I would advise anybody with the first time home buyer loan, I shouldn't say first time home buyer, but if you look at your first thing and you can find a duplex, man, during COVID, Corey, you couldn't find a multi-unit property to save your butt. And I feel like there's a little bit more on the market now than there has been. Like you and I talked, I call realtors every day. You talk to buyers and sellers every day. The inventory hasn't picked up, but I just feel like there isn't as much competition right now. A lot of that is holiday driven. I mean, let's be honest. Normally, this time of year isn't as busy because nobody wants to move during the holidays unless they have to. But at the same time, it hasn't been an amazing year because of the rate environment. But I feel, and we talk about this every Sunday night, Corey, but I just feel like there's a little more calming effect right now. Hey, we know who the president's going to be in the fiscal responsibilities and the financial things like that. But rates haven't done a ton, Corey. They've gone down a little. They actually spiked up after the election, then they went down a little bit. So we'll just have to see what happens. Mortgage rates, like I tell people every day, aren't what the Fed do. They're seriously based upon how the job market's doing, Corey, and how people are spending money. It's called the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and it's a report that comes on every month. And they judge on where are people spending money or are they not spending money. And they look at travel, hotels, restaurants, shopping, things like that. And obviously it's Christmas and people spend money at Christmas like they're burning it in the backyard. So I'm very guilty of that too. So it's all good. Yeah. What are some other location things that I wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think for my example today, this vacation home that I showed just outside of Baraboo, it's close to Devil's Lake State Park. It's close to the Dells. It's close to some attractions. It's close to ski hills. I think that when you are thinking about it for the VRBO aspect, think of the people that are renting these houses up at Lambeau Field and the amount of money that they can get on game day to rent out a house. But there's other things to keep into consideration. If it's an area where there's a big coliseum or a venue like that. Jason, I know you go on a lot of tractor pull stuff, and if you have a situation where you're by some fairgrounds or you're just by a place that has a lot of big events throughout the year, if you're by a town similar to, it's obviously easy to use the Wisconsin Dells area, a place where I think it seems like a lot of times too, where if people are going for like business conferences and things of that sort, that VRBOs are really good for that. I think if we shift away from a VRBO, I think that there's I've had some clients in the past that purchased a property that they wanted to use as a vacation home. They weren't from the area. They didn't necessarily want to do the VRBO, but there's a market out there for traveling nurses and doctors too.
Yes.
Where you're not just renting out for the weekend, you're renting 6-8 weeks at a time. You're furnished. And there's some other good opportunities where you're not having that turnover every weekend and having to worry about maid service and cleaning and maintenance and stuff every weekend. That, there's different versions of short-term rentals. And that's just one, great opportunity. I know a lot of traveling nurses, they get a stipend for what they can spend on housing, and they want something furnished and they want something decent because they're going to be staying for weeks or months, and they'll pay pretty good money to be able to rent something. So,
well, I think if you could buy a house in a town where there's a college, and you could get, student rentals. Yeah, there's always that fear that they're going to beat it up and party like the movie Animal House. But I think you can keep a good eye on stuff like that for the most part. So, I just feel like there's a lot of people that want to learn more about investments in real estate and how to make money with it. We talk a lot about primary residences, and I'm actually really glad that you brought this up now, because the more we talk about it, the more ideas I kind of get for to remind people that there are multi-units, there are vacation homes, there are investment properties. There's opportunities for people out there to, to have somebody else pay that off. And then you have that in your portfolio, Corey, to borrow against in the future, just overall, wealth. So
I do think another important thing to touch on here as far as location goes is if you are truly talking VRBO, you need to be working with an agent that understands that area and understands the local ordinances. There's some pretty huge restrictions that have come up right now. The Wisconsin Dells, Lake Delton area. There's a lot of people that bought properties for VRBOs, and they've put on some pretty big restrictions there.
Well, some of these condo units, I know what you're talking about, and I can say it more as maybe I don't want to get you in trouble, but there are certain condos where you're not supposed to rent them out, and there people are renting them out, or they're letting them out to their borrowers and stuff. So be careful with that because, well, one of them are the condo hotels. That's one of them for sure. I have a hard time financing those. It's something like at the Kalahari and some of those places, Corey, because it's really hard to put a value on those, bud. It really is. So I'm helping a friend right now from Minnesota, a tractor buddy who they have one of their kids goes to school down the Orlando area in college, and they're down there 6-8 weeks a year. And he started doing the math on how much they're spending on VRBOs. So they're pre-approved now with Crystal, one of my loan officers down in Florida. And she didn't have any, that's like 3 hours from Pensacola, or I don't remember how far it was, Corey, exactly, but she had some realtor friends, get connected with people that know that market around Disney and stuff like that for these 7-8 bedroom type places. And they're taking a look at that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it, again, there's pros and cons of it. There's restrictions that you have to be aware of. So, it's always area specific and doing some research and making sure that the ordinances and the permits can be obtained if it's truly the VRBO. Now, when it comes to long-term rentals, 30 days or more, there's less restrictions on them. Or if you're truly buying, again, the example that we keep on talking about, that side-by-side duplex, and you're renting out for a year lease, you're not having to be concerned about restrictions. It really comes down to the VRBO type and the weekly rentals where you need to make sure that you know what you're doing in that area.
Yeah, because you don't want to get burnt on it, Corey. You know that. So
yep.
That's fair here. These next couple topics that we put together before, I don't want to hash these out a lot because it gets boring, but licensing and regulations for short-term rentals, you touched on it a little bit ago. Know what you're getting into. Make sure, if you're buying a condo hotel or if you're buying a condo, be super careful with that. Make sure if you plan to rent it out, make sure you can rent it out because you don't want to go into that thinking. And condos jump out at me, Corey, because they are tougher to finance because of the HOAs and the condo rules, different things like that. But again, if you buy a condo, you don't want it to be a damn hotel, right? I mean, it's there to protect the people that already live there. So I see both sides of that. Just know what you're getting into. Cash flow analysis, and we're gonna talk about numbers here in a little bit, Corey, but that was our next topic. I need to be able to click on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that when it comes down to it's easier to talk about the side-by-side duplex scenario, owner-occupied scenario. You're obviously going to be paying a little bit more in insurance for the coverage of the complete unit. You're going to need to make sure in that scenario that the utilities are split up. I've seen sometimes where they're not, and it's like a shared boiler system or a shared water utilities. And, my advice always from being a landlord and a rental owner myself is, get the utilities split up, get a second meter on the property if there's not one already there, so that your renter is truly paying their expenses. So if they decide they want to turn their heat up, you're not covering that. Right. So there's things like that to be, in the VRBOs, it's, you have to think about linens, you have to think about several sets of sheets and towels. You need to be thinking about cleaning services and maintenance and things of that sort. So, when you're talking to VRBO, there's definitely a second set of expenses that you have to think about.
Yep.
100%. Even like on a VRBO, you're going to be paying for internet, you're going to be paying for utilities, wear and tear, replacing some damaged things. So there's a second set of expenses that you need to be concerned about. And again, I always say when I'm working with client that is, working on buying a VRBO, I always, and Jason, you as a lender, I'm sure, I want to make sure that they can afford it. Even if they don't have the rental income. So the rental income should be assistance or help towards their payment. And, there could always be an issue that comes up that you're not getting the rents that you want. And it isn't, if it's an existing VRBO, you may have some return clients, but if you're starting in property as a new VRBO, it takes some time to get some traction. So you need to make sure that you can cover those expenses yourself while you build up your ratings and reviews and return guests. So it's definitely something that you need to be working with an agent that understands and can send you in the right direction where to get the information so you are prepared for it.
Yeah, next week, one of our top property management choices. Again, this leans a little more towards the actual VRBO or the condo hotels or I'm buying a true investment property. Make sure you know how much these people are going to charge because they take a pretty healthy percentage, but they also take off all the work as well. I have a buddy in Florida who owns a house, Corey, and he has a local lady down there who does a lot of housekeeping, and she's pretty good too. It keeps an eye on stuff, and he lives in Wisconsin. Every time there's a hurricane, he's just a nervous wreck, and being able, and then she doesn't answer her phone and stuff like that because the phones are down and she can't. It's hard, but that's something I think you really want to check into to make sure that, again, if they're going to take 20%, again, I'm just making numbers up. I don't know 10 or 20%, but I'm guessing it would be something in that area for a percentage of the monthly, or the rental for that. Make sure that it's worth it to you to do something like that. Again, I'm super, we've said it before, but I'm familiar with the side-by-side duplex, and I'm familiar with the person that I'm buying this second home. I'm buying this vacation home, but I'm going to retire there. And they're buying it maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years ahead of their retirement, knowing that it'll be paid off by the time they get to that place and at that point in their life. And they use that as vacation property so they know who the neighbors are and stuff like that. Renovations and value add opportunities. Again, that's, do you want to put a pool in? Every place in Florida has a pool, Corey, but not every place in Wisconsin does. Those are just some of the things that you want to take a look at when you are looking at a property like this. So
yeah, and again, I wanted this to be geared toward, yes, I'm certainly happy to somebody that's going to, buy a piece of property to rent out as a VRBO. But again, I'm more passionate about, I want to see first-time home buyers buying owner-occupied duplexes. So you have to think of things like, I don't know that I would, if I was going to buy a duplex right now or help a client of mine buy a duplex, I'm going to say at least two bedrooms or more, if not three. I don't think that, unless it's a scenario where it's a 3-1, meaning 3 bedrooms on one side and 1 bedroom on the other, and the owner's going to live in the 1 bedroom and rent out the 3. But I would really discourage people from, in my personal opinion and experience from being a landlord myself, is to not mess around with 1 bedroom apartments. It's a lot lower rents. The turnover's more. If I'm working with a buyer and they want to do an owner occupied, I'm certainly going to suggest 2 or more bedrooms for it to make sense and get better rent.
And I don't know if you're seeing this as much, Corey, but there was a time where you were almost seeing like the mother-in-law suite at the garages and a smaller unit on the property. I mean, I still think you see some of that stuff like that, but there's opportunities to do that thing, to do those things. You see an older 2 or even a 3-story home, Corey, almost turned into like each level is their own thing. But we've also, you and I've seen them turn back into primary residence as well. And there's the stairs around back. So there's a store for everything. If somebody's got a couple extra bush lights and they're out there trying to figure out what they're going to do with their house, you never know what we're going to find. So
yeah, and I think that, finally, Jason, I think if you want to actually bring up that first link for Paragon, then we can just go through a few examples and then we'll kind of do case study. I have a case study on one of them just as an example. But certainly if you guys have any questions, if you've looked for houses, can't really find what you're looking for, struggling with low inventory. And as you see, we're going to have a link up here shortly that's just going to show what is actually available. Are you able to do that Paragon one, Jason?
Oh, sorry, Corey. That's my bad. I need to get a better producer, Corey. My bad.
I know. We know that you don't have multiple monitors today. Will
you get what you pay for, bro. You're my friend. So. Oh shoot.
So yeah, back to we're gonna have a link here if anybody wants. I'll put it in the chat below. I think I had some parameters that I just searched here quickly before we started the podcast, but I think I did 500,000 and under, and in the Sauk, Columbia, Marquette, Dodge. I think those are the 4 counties I used. And we'll have this link down below, but these are all examples of multi-units. I mean, so here's again this first one up here in Beaver Dam on Spring Street. Jason, if you want to click on that link.
Yeah, I'm putting that link in the comment for those of you that want to see what Corey's looking at right now.
And if you click Jason, it'll actually take you to additional pictures and such, and we can just kind of run through that one.
You want the Beaver Dam one?
Sure, that'll be good. And then we'll do another one after that actually did the case study. So
you want me to flip through the pictures, Corey?
You can, yep. And I'll bring it up on my end and kind of talk through it a little bit. So let me get to it. So yeah, this actually, again, this is actually a 3-unit. So 2 1-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom, 260,000. I would say they're each about 600 square feet, 6 to 700 square feet. Just roughly, I would say the 1-bedrooms you could probably get between $650 and $700 a month rent for. The 2-bedroom, maybe that $750, $800 a month range. But this is just an example for $260,000. You can be buying a pretty decent 3-unit property.
Yeah. And I noticed in the listing too, they say 35 minutes from Madison. There was a time nobody wanted to drive 35 minutes. I think now people commute hour and a half to work some places, Corey,
Right.
So.
And then I think, Jason, if you want to click on, let me think of the one that I did the case study. What do we say? It was the Fall River duplex. So it's the 226/228 Niehoff Drive for $339.
Okay.
And
there you go.
Yeah, so this one's actually, I love this one. It's 3 bedrooms on each side. This is what I'm talking about when we keep having the example of the standard side by side. So mirrored image, it's something that was actually built as a duplex versus converting a home, from a single family home into a duplex or a 3-unit. These usually are a lot easier to maintain. I mean, this one was built in 1990. It's 3 bedrooms, just over 1,000 square feet on each side. In this scenario, because of its proximity to Columbus and Sun Prairie, I actually think that you could get between $1,300 and $1,500 a month rent.
Hey, Corey, how does if I'm getting into this for the first time, how does a person figure out what a rental's worth?
Yeah, ask a good agent. Ask me. No, I mean, I do research myself. So there are some programs out there that I have used, and I can certainly guide people towards that. But, it's just like me looking, for comps for selling a house. I have a pretty good idea on comps for rentals as well. I mean, you can look on Facebook or Craigslist or, rentals.com of things of that sort. And there's some other programs out there. I like looking at the data myself versus just putting in an address and coming up with a number, but it's simply it's a supply and demand thing still. I think that 3 bedrooms, you can really get a lot of rent right now for 3 bedrooms anywhere, just because there's so few of them. So yeah, there's several ways that you can do it. Just, searching what's actively out there. There's going to be a supply and demand effect, just like if you're buying or selling a home. But there's a lot of ways that we can come up with pricing for rent.
Well, and I know that if you were buying this property, Corey, with me, and it was clearly a rental property, you're going to pay a little bit more for your appraisal, like $100, $150, but the appraiser actually goes out and figures out an average market rent for us, Corey, as a lender. So that's just another thing that you have in your back pocket as well. And again, it's rent is going, what are people willing to pay? And that's a nice looking place right there, big backyard and lots of room. So.
Mm-hmm. And then I think, Jason, along with that, if you can bring up that estimated payment that we did.
I sure can. Give me 1 second.
So, yeah, so in this scenario, I just want to make sure I have the right one. Oh, so we did this as, what was the purchase price on that house, Jason?
Loan amount's $327. So I think we did an FHA.
Oh, that's right.
I think we did an FHA with 3.5% down, Corey. Yeah.
Right. So what I did is I just used the 339.
This was the 339 one, Corey.
Yep. The 339 purchase price, 3.5% down. And with that, you're putting, $12,000 down. Went a little bit higher on the interest rate. Again,
and that's for those of you watching, that's pretty typical to see a higher rate on a multi-unit or an investment property. Anything that there's income producing, you see a higher interest rate on it, and I guess that's the way it's always just kind of been, guys. So
factored in, still you're still going to be doing escrows, so you're going to be factoring in taxes into your payment and insurance. I just use $1,250 a year for insurance. But basically it breaks it down where your payment on this property would be $2,871 a month with your taxes and insurance.
And what did you think you could rent that unit the other side for?
Yeah, I really think I would say $1,500. So, okay. You could, just to actually, this ends up being more than 50% of your mortgage could be covered by a renter in this scenario. So, you could be having a $2,800 payment, getting $1,500 a month rent, and essentially living in a nice 3-bedroom, 1-bath property for $1,300 a month.
Yeah, you can't beat that with a big stick.
So
that is good stuff.
Yeah. I'll just wrap it up by saying, hey, I think there's some real opportunity out there. If you have any questions about purchasing multifamily homes, 1 to 4 units for either the owner-occupied rental, VRBO, regular vacation home, Jason, I think the scenario that you keep talking about is somebody purchasing their retirement home early, or their vacation home early, maybe renting it out some to offset the costs a little bit and trying to get it paid off so you can live in it debt free. So I think there's real opportunity to save some money by having your renter on the other half of your duplex pay your rent for you. You're going to be building equity again. As you grow, and if it doesn't fit your needs anymore and you move out, you can rent out the second side, have some cash flow coming in after all your expenses are covered. And then it's going to be appreciating over the years that you're owning it. And if you lived in it owner occupied for at least 2 years, when you do go to sell it, the profit that you make because you lived in it at least 2 of the 5 years that you owned it, you're going to be putting in your pocket tax free. So I think there's some real good opportunities here. And anybody that has any questions on the real estate side of it, or managing rentals, or any questions like that, feel free to reach out to me. And Jason, if you have any closing words, and if you have any questions about how much you need to put down, or different financing options, certainly reach out to Jason.
Yeah, the biggest thing I love about, this is the only thing I can confidently tell you that is going to appreciate in your life. And I say it, you buy a car, you drive it off the lot, it's down in value. You buy anything, but buying a home or investment property or a vacation property or investment property, that's the one thing over the course of time, it's going to go up in value because God is not making more land. And that's just, I love working in this industry. I love helping people. I love working with realtors. I love being available 7 days a week to answer my phone to help people out, because I work when you need me. Not every, I know that you're working probably 8 to 4, 6 to 4, 6 to 5, and you want to go look at houses at 6, 7 o'clock at night with your agent. You need to talk to a lender. And that's where I'm proud of that. I've put together an awesome team. I've been in the business 8 years, and I don't know the answer to everything, but I do know a guy who knows everything. I mean, I'll always find out
Right.
quickly.
That's the same with me.
Yep.
I know a lot. I have a lot of experience. I've been in the real estate industry almost 20 years now. I've seen some mistakes happen. I've been a landlord myself. I can answer many questions, and if I can't give you a excuse me, good solid answer on it, I know guys too, and people that have more knowledge than me that are willing to help out as well. So if it's something that I can't answer, I'm certainly going to find somebody that can.
Yep. Everybody knows somebody who wants to buy a house. So be a good friend and send them to Corey and I, and then we'll take good care of them. We promise, because we don't get paid unless they close on the house, and that's just those are the facts.
Right.
So that's why we work really, really hard to get them what they need and on time. So we take a lot of pride in that. So Corey and I, and Jackie Lang jumps on us with her as well. She's busy tonight. We do this every single Sunday night. This week in real estate, we're just talking about topics. If you have a certain topic you want us to cover, please shoot us a Facebook message, Instagram, whatever. Give us a call. It's definitely getting cold out there. But when you think about the holidays, Corey, you want to invite your family over to your home, host your first Christmas. I think of the memories that my kids have growing up, and it's fun. Home is where the heart is, and it's fun to have it be your home and not somebody else's. So
cool. I agree.
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.